Okie dokie, welcome back. At this point, you should have your face highlights and your face shadows traced. You'll notice that I don't have every single shadow or every little highlight traced, right? I just looked through and picked the ones that I thought would form a good shape of the face. Now, it's Illustrator. Nothing's going to keep you from deleting these if they don't look good later or adding new ones if you need them. So this is just kind of a little start. And you can always tweak yours later, which I will probably have to do on this one, especially around the eye and stuff right here. Anyhow, next up what we need to do is create some skin tones, like a color palette of skin tones, so that we can fill in the face and the neck and anything else that we need to. And we're going to do that by creating a range of skin tones so that we can do shadows, highlights, and base color. We no longer need to see the shadows and highlights because we've already traced those. So I'm going to turn the eyeball off. And then with that shadows and highlights layer active, I'm going to click a new layer and double click on it and rename it. And I'm going to call it Skin Tones. Then I'm going to take my rectangle tool and I'm going to click. I'm not going to drag or anything. I'm just going to click here in the open area and it's going to open up this dialog box and I want it to say 1 inch by 1 inch. So put 1 inch by 1 inch and click OK. Now we're going to use this really cool tool called the Eyedropper Tool. And the Eyedropper Tool, you click on a picture and it takes that color and creates a color swatch out of it. If we're looking at it, it's over here, Eyedropper Tool. We need to double click on it and yours is going to say point sample most likely, so we want to switch it from point sample to 3x3 average. That means to take a 3x3 average of the pixels, not a single point or single pixel. Alright, so we're going to click OK. Now we want to pick the highlight color for this. So these are my highlights and I'm going to click somewhere in here and I can kind of click around on the picture till I get kind of the highlight that I want. So I have a highlight color. I'm going to take my selection tool and I'm going to shift option drag somewhere down here a copy of that highlight rectangle. And now we're going to make a shadow color. Alright, so let's get a shadow swatch. So go back to our eyedropper. And I'm going to pick somewhere in my shadows until I get kind of a color. I don't want it too dark. I'm going to do something like that. Now we need to fill in a range of other skin tones. We're going to do that with this tool right here next to the eyedropper tool, the blend tool. And with the blend tool, I'm going to click on the first one. Actually, you know what we need to do first? We need to double click on it. And we're going to do, so double clicking on a tool brings up its options, right? No matter, well, some tools don't have options, but pretty much any tool, like we saw in the eyedropper, now that we're seeing on the blend tool, you double click and that tool is going to have options. And I'm going to switch from smooth color to specified steps. And I want 3 steps. That will add 3 squares in here that will range from that color to that color. I'm going to click OK. Now with it still active, I click on the first square and the bottom square and it fills in a range of skin tones for me. But right now if we select it, you will see it's all connected like a single shape. But we don't want that. We're going to turn these into little separate shapes so that we can make swatches out of them. So we're going to go up to Object and we're going to expand and click OK. Then we're going to go up to Object again and we're going to ungroup. Now if I click off and click on, you can see they are individual shapes. I am going to highlight them all again. We do want them all selected for this next step. We're going to come over to Swatches and we're going to create a folder like that for skin tones. So with it selected, new color group, click on that. I'm going to call it skin tones and click OK. Now you can see I have that range of colors to use for my skin tones. What else should we do? Oh, in addition to skin tones, while we're here, we could do some colors for the eyes. So I'm going to click again over here, one by one. Don't worry about the fill color for that right now. I'm going to zoom in on the eyes a little bit, and I'm just going to kind of scroll over so I can still see my rectangle here, but also see the eyes zoomed in a bit. And I'm going to eyedrop kind of a lighter color in there. Let's see if I zoom in more, will it give me a lighter color? Let's find out. If we come in like that, and I get something there, and look, Command minus, maybe. I might hold off on that and pick those while I'm working with it, just so I can be zoomed in, and I'll show you kind of another trick for the eye layers. Alright, so we'll ignore that. We'll have our skin tones. Now that we've created them, we really don't need to see them, so we can lock them and highlight them. Hit Command 0 to zoom back out. And from here, let's test them, right? While we're here, let's test them out. So I'm going to click on the face layer. I'm going to scroll up to my skin tones. That's my highlight, so I want something slightly darker for my base face layer. Maybe something like that. Then I remembered which ones are my highlights, but you can see my highlight layers active, and my layer color for my particular layer is this kind of purple magenta. So I know as long as I'm selecting things and they all have that purple magenta outline, which these do, those are my highlights. And I'm going to scroll over, scroll down in my swatches, make those the highlights. Oh, that one was a highlight too. I missed it, so I'll add that one in. And then these ones, I'm going to shift click, and those are my shadows. And you can see face shadows layer has the blue dot saying stuff selected, and it's a blue layer. So those are all face shadows. And then I'm going to click one of the darker colors like that. Then I'm going to hit Command A. We do not want any strokes. So I'm going to Command A to get rid of the strokes like that. And right now it's going to be a little bit blotchy. Okay, a little bit blotchy because it's too much dark, too much light. Really easy fix. Shift click on all of those. Come to your transparency panel. And we are going to bring these down to like, let's see how that looks. Whoops. Maybe 20%. We can adjust it later. Same thing, shift click on the highlights, bring our transparency down. Maybe I'll make these a little brighter, so we'll stay like 30%. It's not a magic number, right? You may need to do 35, you may need to do 40. Play with it as you go, and you're probably gonna have to come back and adjust it after you had the mouth, the eyes, and different things. But I just kind of wanted to show you what it would look like as you're moving forward, and we just created these skin tones. I'm going to close up my face layer because I don't need to see the sub layers on there. I'm going to lock it because I'm done tracing the face. I'm going to turn the eyeball off, and then I would do a new layer next, like perhaps the mouth, right? So have fun, start doing the mouth, the teeth, and kind of work your way through the other parts of the face. If you notice, there's a reason why we're doing it in this order. If we're looking at our layers from bottom to top, layers that are below other layers, so the face is at the bottom, are behind in the picture. We want the mouth, the eyes, and stuff like that on top of our face. So we want those layers on top of our face over here in layers. Hopefully that makes sense. It's called stacking order, and it's a really important thing to understand in Illustrator.